All right, let's just jump right into one of the most powerful ideas in all of psychology. What if the person you are most terrified of becoming is exactly who you need to be? Not the polished, perfect version of you, but the one you've spent a lifetime pushing away. You know that feeling? It hits you in those quiet moments, maybe late at night. That strange sense that you're just playing a part. So let's just be real for a second and ask the question, whose life are you really living? On one side, you've got the you that everyone sees, the one who is agreeable, presentable, safe. But then there's the other side. The you that you buried deep down, the one you were taught was too much of something, too angry, too ambitious, too whatever. Well, the psychologist Carl Jung believed our deepest pain comes from this exact split. To really get this, we first have to talk about the identity we build for the outside world. And Jung had a perfect name for it. He called it the persona. Think of the persona as your social mask. It's a survival tool we all learn as kids, right? Be polite, be a good student, don't make waves. And you know what? It works. It helps us get by. But the danger, the real danger, is when we forget we're even wearing a mask. When we start to believe that the role we're playing is the only thing we are. And believe me, there is a huge price to pay for that confusion. We start to abandon ourselves piece by piece. We censor our own thoughts. We dull our instincts. We say yes when every fiber of our being is screaming no. And we trade real, messy, authentic belonging for the sterile feeling of just fitting in. That mask that was supposed to protect you, it starts to suffocate you. Jung's insight here is just so profound. He's telling us that your true purpose, your passion, your real vitality, it's not found by perfecting the mask. Nope. It's found in everything the mask was built to hide. So where do all these hidden, disowned parts actually go? They don't just vanish into thin air. They sink down deep into our unconscious, into a place Jung called the shadow. So the shadow is like this psychic basement where we shove everything we've rejected about ourselves. Every time you were told your anger was ugly, or your ambition was selfish, or your needs were shameful, you pushed that part of you down into the dark. It went underground. But it didn't die. And here's the crucial thing. A repressed shadow doesn't just sit there quietly. Oh no, it runs the show from behind the curtain. It's that self-sabotaging impulse that kicks in right when things are going well. It's that explosive anger that comes out of nowhere. That pattern in your relationships you just can't seem to break. It's not fate. It's your disowned self, screaming to be seen. This quote, this one gets right to the heart of it all. Jung is warning us that if we don't do the incredibly hard work of looking into our own darkness, we're just going to be puppets of our own unconscious fears and wounds, all while thinking we're the ones in control. Okay, but this work, it's not easy. In fact, it's terrifying. There are these huge, powerful forces standing in our way. So let's talk about the 4 great fears that guard the door to our whole selves. This first one is massive. It's the fear that our shadow is a monster. We're taught that our so-called dark impulses, like anger or ambition, are just plain wrong, and that being a good person means keeping them locked away forever. But Jung saw this completely differently. Recognizing your capacity for rage doesn't mean you're going to become an angry person. It means you have a choice. It means you can use that fire to set a firm boundary with clarity, instead of letting it leak out as resentment or a huge blow-up. Integration actually makes you safer because you're no longer controlled by the parts of you that you refuse to even look at. Oh, this one cuts deep. The fear of being cast out, of being abandoned, it's primal. And let's be honest, Jung never promised this would be easy. When you stop performing and start showing up as your real self, yeah, some people probably will reject you. But here's the hard truth we tend to ignore. Every time you bite your tongue to keep the peace, you are already being rejected by yourself. And that's the rejection that hurts the most. You have a choice. You can be accepted for a mask and feel hollow inside, or you can risk rejection for your truth and actually feel alive. So many of us have seen power used badly, right? So we start to think that power itself is bad. We associate it with domination, with control. And so we decide, you know what, it's safer to just be small, to be harmless. But denying your own power doesn't make you a saint. It makes you resentful. And that denied power, It just leaks out sideways as passive aggression or manipulation. True power, the kind Jung is talking about, isn't about controlling other people. It's about owning your own life, setting clear boundaries, and having the strength to say no. And here it is. This might be the most terrifying fear of them all. Our whole identity is built around being not that. I'm not selfish. I'm not angry. So what happens when you have to face the very things you've defined yourself against? Who are you then? It feels like your entire world is collapsing. And in a way, it is. But this isn't the end. Jung called this a symbolic death. It's the necessary breakdown of the fake, fragile self so that something real, something much stronger, can finally be born. You don't lose yourself. You finally get to meet yourself. So if those are the fears, how in the world do we get past them? This brings us to the actual practical work that Jung called individuation, the lifelong journey of becoming a whole, integrated person. It's not about being perfect. It's not becoming completely and uniquely you. And this isn't just theory, it's a practice. So number 1, reclaim your projections. Think about that one quality that drives you absolutely insane in other people. Maybe it's their arrogance or their laziness. The work is to ask, okay, where does a tiny version of that live in me? Number 2, dialogue with your shadow. This might sound a little weird, but you literally visualize that rage or that fear as a character. You sit down with it in your mind's eye and you ask it questions. What do you want? What are you afraid of? You treat it like a lost part of you, not an enemy. And number 3, practice micro-rebellions. This is where the rubber meets the road. Take small, real actions that go against your old programming. Say no without giving a long-winded excuse. Share an opinion that might not be popular. Every small act of courage rewires your brain. And as you start to do this, you'll feel shifts in your life. But here's a little warning. The goal isn't to feel happy and peaceful all the time. The goal is to feel whole. And the signs that you're on the right path, well, they might not be what you expect. You'll probably find that you become less predictable because you're not just following a script anymore. You might even become more polarizing because your authenticity will really resonate with some people and not so much with others. But you'll also feel way less defensive. Criticism won't crush you because you're not protecting a fragile little mask anymore. And the best part, you reclaim all that energy you were using to keep parts of yourself locked down. You stop feeling just fine and you start feeling truly alive. So, we end right where we started. This whole journey isn't about becoming a better, more perfect person. It's about becoming a whole person. It's about having the incredible courage to turn around and face everything you've been running from. Because what if that person you buried so long ago, the one who's too intense, too ambitious, too wild, what if that's not a monster? What if that's your rescuer?